prepared. We are entering deep and dark waters of SHTF. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Prepared Mind channel. I tell you, these are trying times we're in. People are scared. People are frustrated. People are confused. We are not getting all the facts, folks. We're not getting the truth. In fact, I don't know if we've ever gotten the real facts. I can't say for certain we've ever gotten the absolute truth on anything. Now, what I'd like to do is just a little exercise, folks. Shit, it's the fan. Is it real or not? How would you know that this would be shit, it's the fan 10 years ago or 20 years ago? How will anyone know that shit hit the fan in another 10 years or in another 20 years? On the one hand, in the past, you can't. And in the other hand, in the future times, you won't be able to. This is your experience. Right now, what is going on? This is your experience. What you see, what you hear, even today, is prejudiced. It is affected. It is censored. Your experience right now is being censored to create a paradigm that you don't necessarily want or need. But it's the best we can do is living in the moment and understanding what's going on to the best of our ability, taking in what facts we can, what truths we can, what experiential comparisons we can make. When it comes to our history in America, our history in the world, but let's just stick with America. What do we really know about Europe and people fleeing to the Americas? What do we really know about colonial America, about revolutionary America, about post-revolutionary America, about the Civil War, about the late 1800s and the massive depressions that were going on? Who started them? What caused them? Why was it done? The creation of the Federal Reserve, World War I, World War II, the series of wars and skirmishes afterwards. What do we know about our world, folks? What we know about it for certain is very little. What we know mostly about is what they want us to believe. And so we can examine things with a personal filter. I can't tell you the absolute truth. I can't give you all the facts. I can tell you what's important to me. I can tell you what's believable. If the United States government today is lying to us about cerveza bug, world economics, our food supply, what is going on, folks, at the southern border, if they can lie to us and say, you are a racist, you are a white supremacist, you are the reason the world is in such peril right now, you are a bad guy because of your skin color, your race, your belief system, that you're some sort of fascist neo-Nazi, and all you want is for yourself and your country liberty, peace, and freedom. How is that Nazi? How is that supremacist? How is that bad? How is it that you can be portrayed, if you're a person of color, either Black or Latino, Latina, right? How can you be portrayed as a person of color as being anti-Constitution? Who's doing that? Right? In other words, yeah, you're against America if you're a person of color. You're against the Constitution if you're a person of color. If you're Black, then you must hate white people, right? And right, you ain't Black if you don't vote for Joe Biden. Who is creating this false narrative, right? Who is doing that? Well, those who are in charge of reporting it on a day-to-day, right? Current events basis. That's the mainstream media. Why do you think they want you silenced? Why do you think they want me silenced? Because they want to create a story It's a story. It's a fabrication. It is a fiction using some elements that are factual. And they create a story around it. But who is right? Are you right? Am I right? Are they right? All you have to do is ask yourself a couple questions for you personally. And this is what I do for myself. Am I happy? Do I like what the hell is going on? Seeing what I'm seeing and hearing what I'm hearing and comparing it to facts that make sense, to an understanding of natural philosophy, human behavior, if you will, societal and cultural development. Do I trust the US government to tell me what's going on? Not on your life. No. When our own political leaders are now saying, screw your freedoms, even the president of America, right? The president. Actually, he's the president of Washington, D.C. Even he basically says, screw your freedoms. It's not your freedoms that matters, it's lives. That's funny. Every time we hear a government, and this is part of the history I learned, this is part of the reality that I learned, these are the factual events that I learned, is governments like the Chinese Communist Party, the Soviet Communist government, the Nazi fascist government. What did they say? Oh, it's not about freedom. It's not about your rights. We'll get back to that in a while, but we need to protect you. It's about national security. It's about saving lives. We're going to protect you and put you on a train. It's about saving lives and putting you on a train and sending you to a concentration camp. So now today in Australia, it's not about your freedoms and your liberties. It's not about your rights. It's about saving lives. So we're going to put you on a train, on a bus, and we're going to take you to a wellness camp. And anywhere from months to years later, the narrative changes. There's too many of you people. You're too dangerous. You're out of hand. You won't behave. It's too risky. You're a threat. You've been a problem all along. It's not just medical. Now it's political and medical. It has nothing to do with medicine. Now it's all about politics. You're bad people. We need to extinguish the flame of life in your body. In other words, it's not good. So I want to ask you about some things. Who is telling the truth? Who is giving us the facts? Has Dr. Fauci been giving us the facts, or has he been giving us his story about cerveza bug, about masks, about social distancing, about lockdowns, about the Jim Jones juice? Is he giving you the facts? Are we learning about all the real risks and all the real dangers and all the real negative consequences? You have to ask these questions for yourself. It's very important because these questions and your answers will help determine how you are prepared to deal with this. Is it really important, folks, in today to look back 200 years ago and say, did the English soldiers, did they fire first at Lexington and Concord, or did they show up and the Americans shot them first? Is it really important? Is that critical to where we're at today? Or is there a more broad, more objective understanding of what was going on at the time? Well, at the time, the English were, in general, shutting down America, locking it down with a naval blockade, interrupting food supply, the supply of goods, the ability of people to work, travel about, to be free. Those are some general ideas that tell us what was going on. And we look now with the lens and say that was bad. Civil War? Who fired first? Who went north? Who went south? Who did this? Who did that? Who started it? All we know for certain is that the South was defeated. Everything else can be fabricated. They can be lies that were recorded. Singing songs, right, are a great way to get people to believe the words of the song as fact. and have it not just be a song. The history books can be written and say, see, it's written in stone, as if God himself was there chiseling in stone for people so that it would never be forgotten. No, it's a piece of paper with some ink on it. I love history, I love books, and I love pieces of paper with ink on it, folks. But what do you believe? What makes the most sense? How are we and where are we today? Now, let's just look forward 10 years from now. The people, will they remember all of the things that happened in the order they happened that we've been witnessing for ourselves in the last 10, 20, where are we at now? Months, a year and a half plus, right? We're closing in on 2 years soon enough. But let's just say it's a year and a half. Will everyone remember the chronological order of all the events that have happened in 10 years? Or will they have forgotten some of it? Could they write whatever they want and people go, oh yeah, I kind of remember that. That must be the way it is, because those who wrote the history books. What will they remember in 10 years, folks? Maybe they're going to remember that cerveza bug came along and it was going to kill 100% of the population. 100%. Except the brave Dr. Dinglehopper stood up and said, lock down for a year and everything will be fine. And the people did, and they rejoiced. They can write whatever they want in 10 years, folks. People will be like, yeah, it felt like we were locked down for a whole year. And then they'll say, but then along came these anti-American fascists. They wore uniforms and they were evil and they tried taking over the country. And January 6th was the first attempt. Oh yeah, I remember that. They burned down Congress. They were assassinating people. Yeah, because this new book, folks, in 10 years from now says so. The people traveled to DC to take over the government. That the military, oh my God, the military, in 10 years, they could write and say in a book, the military was almost destroyed by these white people who were taking it over, these extremists. They were a terrorist group. And we today, 10 years from now, believe that everybody in this country should have the equal amount of stuff. That nobody should have more than anyone else, except for our fearless leaders that we're so grateful to have, our elitist, aristocratic people. Oh, we worship them. Thank God they're here to save us and tell us what we need to think. And that's what the books will say, folks, that people like you are bad. Now, there's many more things that could come along. The refusal to take the life-saving vaccine that saved the world 10 years from now. And thankfully, we have scientists working hard, giving us boosters that we take once a month to keep us alive. If it wasn't for the graciousness of the Pfizer gods, we would be dead. And it's all because of this greedy, selfish desire to be free and to walk where you want and to breathe fresh air. How wrong of them to put themselves ahead of the rest of the population of the world. Thank God that happened. And at least we saved a portion of humanity. 500 million people are left. Whew, it was pretty close. We were almost wiped out. Is that what the history books are going to record for us? And people will look back, and through all of the trauma, through the fog of time, they won't remember actually what happened. But they'll be given little pieces, little stories. They'll make movies. They'll write songs. There'll be pamphlets. And there'll be punishments for those who refuse it and rewards for those who are good little boys and good little girls. It's called positive and negative reinforcement. It is useful in manipulating human behavior and creating a behavioral cycle that is acceptable to those in charge. Now, is that nightmarish, folks? Is that dystopian enough for you? We're in shit it's the fan now. How real is it? How unbelievable is it? Or is it not SHTF at all? Are you prepared? Folks, don't look at anything I say as the absolute truth. Check for yourself. Read the history books for yourself, and then look through the words on the page to see whether or not that makes sense. For example, the Confederacy wanted to separate from the United States government proper, the North. They wanted to form, not only segregate themselves, leave in secession, form their own country. How much sense does it make that they would invade the North to take over the entire North? How much sense does that take or make that they would do that when they just wanted to separate and be their own country? Does it make sense that they would invade the North? Let me ask this question. Does history leave out some very important events, like maybe there was an attempted assassination, and so a military response became necessary? Could it be that a lot of wealth was stolen? Maybe a couple of tons of gold and silver was stolen by the North? Wasn't being allowed to be returned? Could it be something having to do with money, treasure? Geez, that's never happened in our world history. Could it be, folks, right, that everything written about the Civil War is basically a lie? You know, like it was fought over slavery. Now, slavery was a part of it, no doubt. And the abolition or end of slavery resulted as a consequence of the Civil War. All good stuff there, right? But that's not what it was started over. That's not why it was fought initially. It was about money. It was about power. It was about control of the people, control of the government, control of the rules. That's what it was about, the Civil War. But a few short years later, they start telling another story, don't they? So here we are today. Things are happening. They're trying to say there are evil elements within the country that want to go to DC and take over the government. They're totally ignoring the summer of 2020, the summer of love, the summer of mostly peaceful protest that cost billions of dollars in damages, loss of life, attack on the police. They're trying to erase that now, folks. Hey, police, don't remember that. Don't remember when your Democrat mayors, city councils, governors, national leaders in the Democrat Party, along with some choice rhino Republicans, decided it was best to not take any action to stop a couple of hundred violent protesters. And even within that couple of hundred of violent protesters, there were some very serious violent assholes. The rest were there for the show. The rest were there to fill in the crowd. But who was truly radical and violent and wanting to cause this damage? Not as many as you might think. Or is that just my perception based on what I see? Who in history, folks, makes it happen? How many does it take to charge a hill to take it from the enemy? 1, 2, 3, a platoon, and then the whole regiment gets to say they were there and that they did it. And I'm definitely not putting down the military folks. I'm not putting down people who have served in combat. I'm saying, how many does it take? But yeah, everyone was there. So how many Antifa did it take to do what they did? But how many were there? And could they have been stopped? Could they have been repelled, arrested, and stopped? What facts do you see and believe? What is more believable, that the police all of a sudden couldn't do anything? Are they reporting still that the police were told you can't take weapons? You can't take crowd control equipment, gear, tools. And you can't exercise crowd control maneuvers. You just have to stand there and stop them from breaking through the door and burning buildings down from the inside. What makes more sense based on looking at the history, that the police couldn't do anything, that they didn't want to, that they didn't have the tools, or that they were stopped, had their tools taken, and ordered to stand down with the exception of being a target? It makes sense when you look at history, folks, through the lens of common sense, through the lens of our understanding of what government is, and through the lens of looking at our government and seeing what are the steps that have been taken the last decade, right? This progressive movement by government to dismantle and destroy our nation. Who is in charge? Who are the elected officials and bureaucrats making these decisions and taking our country down? So is it believable that people in America are angry at the government, that they want to take action, that they want to defend their rights and themselves? But history is going to decide, right? Not real history, folks. His story is going to decide. That is, those who are commissioned by the victors are going to decide what it is that people in the future need to know in order to believe his story about what has happened. That's why we right now need to understand what exactly is going on. People say, John, why aren't you doing more product reviews? I've got some great product reviews coming, by the way. Why do I focus so much on current events? It's because I want it ingrained in us what is happening, the progress they're making, the direction from where we came to see where we're at, and then predict where we're going so we can be prepared. Now, food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, those are always needed for any emergency, and indeed for life itself. We need those things, but how much food, how many freedom seeds, right? How much medicine do you need on hand? Well, in good times, you don't need to carry much on hand at all. In bad times, you need a lot more of those things as a preservative of your life, as a prophylactic against more bad behavior by those who are supposed to be protecting us, the government and corporations that are supposed to be supplying this. Oh yeah, they've accepted for themselves the roles as the ultimate suppliers of our needs while they're shutting things down. And in fact, there's a theory that's being developed right now that warehouses are being jam-packed full of all the goods that we need. They move someone in, they bring in trucks, they drop everything off. The workers are dismissed and sent to another site. They're told that, oh, that's the new warehouse for that company, or that's the new government warehouse, and that's going to be distributed. And then they forget about that one and they go and do it somewhere else. Where's all the food going? Where, folks, are all these things going? We'll get back to that later. Let's stick with, again, our belief systems and our understanding of what's going on so that we can understand what course of action we need to take today and what course of action may be needed tomorrow. And understand that the enemies of liberty and freedom, they have their own story about what's happening. And they're wanting to press that down on everyone else, impress upon them that their story is more valuable, more accurate, more important, and therefore their story needs action taken on their side. And what is their story? That you are a white supremacist, extremist, Nazi, you're violent, you're full of hate, you're a racist. How many times do I have to re-say all these things? It's incredible, folks. That's their story. What's your story? I'm not rewriting shit, folks. I'm retelling the story as I have heard it, as I have read about it, as I have witnessed it, as I have interpreted it, as I have applied critical thinking and common sense to facts that they're telling me occurred when I know it doesn't make any fucking sense. When they give me facts about history, modern, old, ancient, I can look at it and go, okay, I'm going to make some of my own determinations. Yes, Josephus said this happened 2,000 years ago. Thank you, Flavius Josephus. Do I believe him, or is he a quizzling Jew? Oh, he's a quizzling Jew writing about events that occurred 2,000 years ago in and around the area of Jerusalem. Should I believe him because, well, he's Jewish? Or should I believe him because he's a new Roman citizen with his Romanized name, Flavius Josephus? He's a historian, yes. Does he have an agenda? More than likely. What do you believe, folks? That's why I say believe yourself. Get as much information as you can for yourself. And at a time like now, and I say shit is hit the fan and it's a real deal, you need to have all the information that you can for yourself that's available today. And they are lying minute by minute, trying to feed us horseshit and tell us it's oatmeal and that it's good for us. No, that's oats that went through a horse and it's shit. Yeah, it's 90% oats, but it's shit. See what I'm saying? If a horse ate it, oats, what comes out the other end of the horse is still oats, but it's shit. Don't eat it. Don't buy it. And I hate to be crude, but that I think is a fantastic example. Things are happening. It goes through the mechanism, the digestive mechanism of the political left, the media left, the idiots on the left, and it comes out the other end. And it's still the same basic ingredients. It's just got a lot of shit in it. It's only what is not necessary for you to know and only what they want you to have. What do you believe, folks? Shit hits the fan. Is it real or not? Are you the enemy? Is that a real story or not? Are they the enemy? What's real to you and what is not? That's up to you to decide, not for me to tell you. I just talk about things that I see and hear, and sometimes I share other people's opinions. Sometimes, folks, I say things to get a rise out of you, to get you to start thinking on yourself, for yourself, intentionally. Some people get pissed off by it. Other people find a lot of entertainment in it. Some people see the critical thinking value of asking questions, questioning facts, questioning perceived facts. Does the intelligent mind dismiss things out of hand? Or does the intelligent mind question and re-question things? At some point, can you make a final decision and say, more facts aren't going to change my mind? I can't say which of those is right or wrong. I know it depends on our personalities as to what we perceive is the right way to look at the world. But that's personality. Facts are facts. They don't care about our personalities. The reality is, folks, they're taking our liberties, our freedoms. That's a fact. They're even telling us, even the leftist lunatics are telling us, screw your freedoms. It's not about your freedoms. It's about life. They're being very honest about that, folks. They're being very honest about that, right? Does the Jim Jones juice have a positive or negative effect? Everyone has their story, folks. Do you want to listen to a government liars, the government lying historians? Do you want to listen to those who are allied with the government? Because there's people who are just as credentialed, just as important sounding, with names that are so lofty it sounds as if they shit marble. Who knows that movie? Right? These fucking Dr. Honorius, Biggest Maximus Smith, that doctor. Let's listen to him. Let's listen to her because they know better than us. Or can we choose for ourselves and listen to what doctors we want? Once again, choice. Choice. If you're not given free choice, then it is not a choice. The choice means to be able to differentiate between two or more things. When there's only one choice, it's not a choice. Now, when we get to think and look at several options, we make a choice and we determine which is best for us. Not every choice is perfect. There is no guaranteed good choice, but at least we get to make it for ourselves. That is, we have free will. Is your mind free? Free your mind. And you're free to choose. You start seeing the world quite a bit differently. Anyways, folks, I know I've rambled a bit. This is an important topic. SHTF, shit hitting the fan. Is it real or not? Once you decide that, if you've got enough information to decide that, you've got enough information to start questioning government, the official story, the current narrative, the current agenda, the current facts, the current truths. And you can also look back at history and use it as your guide. And all of this, folks, is pointing and showing us what future we're going to get. Right now, the future looks bleak because we're going in a specific direction. Can we change paths and make decisions for ourselves and take actions that may or may not be reported accurately, that may or may not in the future be seen as, well, patriotic or unpatriotic and terrorist? Government officials now love to look at the founding fathers, the actions taken by the colonial Americans in defense of their rights and liberties, and look at them and say, oh, these were terrorists. Literally, folks, they teach that our founding fathers were terrorists. I don't know if you know that. It's all a matter of perspective, huh? It's all a matter of perspective. That way the government can look now and say, well, we're the government. We're in charge. We know what's right. We're the bosses. We get to say what happens. We know what the law and the rules are. And anyone who opposes that is a terrorist, is a domestic violent extremist. Welcome to 2021. How do you see it, folks? Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Godspeed. Semper Fi. Get prepared.